Have you ever found yourself wondering what to do next, facing a difficult decision, or trying to make it through a challenge in your work? Chances are someone else has asked that exact same question. Welcome to the OT Coaching Confidential. This podcast is a little different to most. Each episode is a real coaching conversation with an occupational therapist or allied health professional somewhere in Australia navigating their own professional growth. These are the conversations that usually happen behind closed doors. The questions, the challenges, decisions, and opportunities that shape us as professionals. By making these conversations visible, I hope you'll discover new ideas, different ways of thinking, and practical insights you can apply in your own work. I'm Elise Spence, and this week I'm joined by Katie, an OT with a passion project that she is ready to launch. And this session, we're chatting all about the practicalities of how do we roll something out? How do we develop a new clinical area of practice? How do we set it up and make it work as a business? Now let's get started. Welcome, Katie. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here.
I'm so excited to hear all about your story. You have such an interesting thing that you're trying to offer to our world. Tell us a little bit about you as an OT at the moment.
Sure. So I'll give you a bit of background. I graduated in 2011. I worked in aged care for a while before moving into hospital. So I've worked in acute, subacute and rehab hospitals. For the last 7 years, I've worked part-time or been on maternity leave. I have 3 children. So I'm on maternity leave from my part-time OT position at the moment, but I'm also trying to build a business. I first became interested in this about 3 years ago when my second child was born, and then, life got in the way. So yeah, this year I'm just still really, really interested and keen to get it out into the world.
So exciting. It's such an interesting clinical area. How did you decide? So let's just tell the people who are listening, what's the area, what's the scope that you're trying to move into?
Yeah, so it's in the motherhood space.
How did you decide there was an OT role there? How did you go, you know what we need? Somebody to do this.
Yeah, sure. Well, when literally in the very, very early days with my son, he did not sleep much at all. So I was often up in the middle of the night, and I was thinking about how much I was using my own OT knowledge for myself in terms of my physical recovery, changing identity. One of my biggest struggles when I had my second child was like the sensory overwhelm of 2 children, competing demands and all that. And I was just thinking that okay, if I have this knowledge and I'm struggling, then, how much more can other mums around the place be struggling as well, and how my knowledge and the OT approach can help. And interestingly enough, I actually heard about postpartum doulas, and I thought about, that sounds cool. That might be something that I can do. And then the more I, looked into it, I was like, wait a minute, this is I can already do this.
Yeah. Cool. I can see that you've done bits and pieces of training. They don't seem like they're sitting in the typical OT world, right? Like they're being run by different people. Have you come across anyone doing similar work to this somewhere in the OT domain at the moment?
So for my sort of interest specifically, not really, and not in Australia. So there's an OT in America who's an OT and also an IBCLC, so a lactation consultant. So she does training. There's also a physio who started up a training network, and she champions OTs. So it is sort of physio.
And is she sitting more in the C-section recovery piece?
Yes. Yeah. And then there's a few OTs in Australia, sort of in the motherhood space, a few sort of in pelvic health, but it's very much an emerging area of practice.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know a few people who are in the perinatal space or looking, but it's always curious which area, like what specifically it is that they're looking at. How interesting. Yeah. Okay, how far in are we? So we've got the company, business. What does that look like? Sole trader? What are you doing?
So actually, I started as sole trader, but actually just set up as a company. So the website almost done. I actually have a podcast, which I started 2 years ago, did 5 episodes, and then again, life got in the way, but also I think the imposter syndrome came out massively, and I was meant to go back to it and then just didn't. The more time that went, the harder it seemed. But now I'm committed to restarting that. So website, that social media, I've had Instagram page for, again, about 2 years. Haven't posted heaps, so starting up that again.
Has it got a following? Has it got...
Yeah, low, 300 and something. And to be honest, I think most of those people are either people I know personally and or other professionals. So that's something I need to work on to expand on. And I'm building a program or membership, I guess.
Cool. So I was thinking that'd be a really lovely pathway for you to think. When you went through Babyland for yourself, Were you involved with like private OBGs or?
No, so I went through the public system through, I actually was, all my pregnancies were classed as high risk pregnancies. So I actually saw the specialist maternal fetal medicine teams in my state, and then saw the two of my children. I saw a physio briefly on the ward postpartum, and then I saw a physio. Yeah, I booked in for a physio for myself. Yeah, so
How did you find the physio? Were you just Googling?
yeah, so the first I saw that the physio maybe spent about half an hour with me, left me with some written information. Second baby was born during like COVID lockdowns, so didn't see anyone, and it was also a weekend. Third was very brief, maybe like 15 minutes. I think obviously they knew it was my third child, just repeated a few things. So yeah, it was helpful, but I mean, there's a lot that I wasn't told, and a lot that obviously comes out, I know from personal experience, when you get home and it's like, oh wow, like I have a baby and I'm home and all these things I didn't think of, and now I have all these unanswered questions.
So then did you see a private physio or just the health one?
I saw through the hospital and then also private.
So when you were looking for that private one, did you just Google search or how did you find?
Google. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe that's probably something to start thinking about. Like, how do you tap into those people? So when they're coming out and they're ready. So you might need to set up your Google. So there's a Google profile, Google business profile. So when we start getting those, so one, you'll need to get like your Facebook and Insta just rehashed, and potentially just try and get your SEO a bit more targeted. So it's going to, when people are Googling that, it'll flick up. My question around accessing those private OBGs and things like that, they're going to be the people who have the money to access private services. So even now, while you've got the time, might be worth going and trying to get interface across those people or reaching out to them, because they're going to be referral partners or, you know, if you can get, and the reason why I was asking, because I feel like the people I went through, I probably would have had an easy in to be able to like, hey, also I'm an OT and I do this now. Could you, you know, like where you're sort of going in a little bit colder. How interesting. Yeah, I wonder. So, a few things I was thinking about for you. When you are using any AI to help you at the moment, are you using like ChatGPT or Claude?
Yes, I'm using ChatGPT a lot.
Okay. And are you doing that in terms of like, hey, I want to launch this business in 3 months' time, I want it to look like this. Here's my demo. Like, do you think you're prompting it well enough to help come up with a plan, or just more that as you're coming across these bits and pieces, it's just helping you with the bits and pieces?
I think I'm doing okay with the prompting, and I'm sort of reminding it, they like, oh, remember I'm doing this based on this. This is what I'm doing now. So I'm using it sort of a bit of a plan, and also social media, I guess, because I know that, I guess people probably aren't really typing OT and like my niche into Google. So it's kind of, I need to build that awareness first that it exists and what value I can bring, and then what I can offer. So I'm sort of using ChatGPT to kind of help me with how to present information. And
so I think you could probably take a step back with chat and it could come up with that whole piece. So you could literally go, I'm an OT wanting to move into this space, help build me out a 3-month marketing plan. I'm concerned about this and this and this. I don't think we'll get picked up for this. And it will help you to tweak your content in that regard. Then you could literally say, write me at least give me a 3-month plan. What would that look like? And see, and at least it'd give you some sort of parameters or guidelines. Then you start feeding in some of those extra things like, what about this? What about this person? Blah, 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 blah. All of those bits and pieces from there. So in chat, are you using projects?
I don't think so.
Okay. So whenever you're using like an AI tool, it usually runs like conversations, which is just like its generic thing, which is good because it keeps all of the memory there. So that's great. But when you get into projects, then it just contains the project. So you might build a project for advertising or marketing plan. And then, so any conversation that you pop into that little project section will just keep on coming back. So I ran a training the other day for Claude, and a lot of people are using Chat or Claude as like an advanced Google rather than using it as a thinking partner. So I think that's the piece that you could use it a bit more like it's me and you're saying, hey, I want to do this. And it says, well, and you just got to be careful because chat tends to agree with you. So you want to put prompts in there like, Don't just say yes, but ask me critical questions to help me to design where we're going to and what that looks like.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that would help with like that overall marketing plan, but it would give you ideas as well. So it would give you, I know, like you could ask, what else am I missing in setting up my private practice? And it would tell you, and then you can just fill in the gaps that you've done.
Okay.
The bits that I'm wondering about is who it would say that we're targeting, because then in Insta and in other areas, then you can target your audience more effectively. So if we're going, because again, we don't need to lean too much into the OT name at this point. It's just, I'm a health professional who helps you to return to life after C-sections or something like that. Like you don't need to lean too heavily into the OT piece because people,
Yeah.
like you said, that's not what they're looking
don't
for.
know.
So thinking about how we position ourselves and where we look at. So I was wondering, have you ever heard about the idea of an ideal client avatar?
Yes.
And who's yours?
Yeah. So basically, someone who is pregnant so that they know they are having a C-section, because I think a lot of this information and education is important while someone is pregnant. Obviously, afterwards, the information is sort of needed straight away. And often after your baby comes, you're overwhelmed. So you need that information before you actually have your baby. So they're pregnant with their first baby, ideally, and looking to expand their knowledge, I guess, in how to healthy recovery. And with recovery too, I'm not just talking about physical recovery either.
Yeah, well, that's the piece that I was just thinking. You'll have to be mindful about it not sounding too physical heavy.
Yes.
Interesting. Have you had a look at anyone around you that's running any like mother's health type clinics, services, things like that? Like when you're thinking about doing this work for yourself, you're just planning on doing it via home, telehealth, or were you thinking about like linking in with a local clinic?
I was thinking about just doing it myself at home, but potentially in future, I'd be open to that. I have reached out to some professionals, so mainly like private midwives and doulas I've sent email to. But again, it's sort of just giving them a bit of an overview. Don't have my website yet, so I'll follow up again when the website is done. And so I did get some replies, not many, when I sent that email out. So
I wonder whether you might be better off trying to build networks first before trying to build referrals.
Yes.
So look at all those different services and go and see, can I come and hear about what you do and how you guys work? I'm finding, where can I refer people to over just refer to me and we have no relationship. So, but I think that would also help you to embody yourself in the community that is already existing, right? So there is a pretty strong ecosystem where you are. So trying to tap into those areas and then you bring your novel approach in so that you get the right referrals that you want.
Yeah. Okay.
Talk to me a little bit about working privately. You've not ever really worked privately.
No,
so
I haven't.
this is going to be an interesting pathway. You've set a price, which is really good. How did you come to that conclusion?
That is a good question. So what we haven't mentioned is I'm interested in baby wearing as well. So from the baby wearing space, obviously the prices are a lot less than the OT rate, but I've still set it as the OT rate because obviously I can't really separate out my OT brain from the baby wearing side of things, and I bring those other skills about, regulation and injury prevention and all that sort of thing. But in terms of my rate, so I looked at what the NDIS rate is, went a little bit higher than that. So 200 an hour. I just thought that's an easy fee.
It might be worth, so I've got a workshop that's probably worthwhile you doing in this phase of setup called Sensational Start to Private Practice. So it's all the considerations around that business side of things. And because you have an intention of growing and this, being a decent chunk of your work, like it's not just a side hustle, it is something that you actually want to get to move. So I think that might be worthwhile having a look at. But in there, it helps you to calculate how to come to those numbers and figures because you're going to have to be pretty strong. You haven't had to bill for your time before. So what happens the first time someone says to you, well, Katie, I can't afford that. And you go, oh, I'm such a kind OT. Let me give you a discount. So this is probably something that you will have to think about a little bit more. What do you know about like Medicare and how they can access you with private health and all that sort of stuff?
Not much, to be honest. I haven't really looked into that side of things. I just thought to begin with, it's easier for myself to start private and then potentially, I'll look into that.
So you will definitely need to know how to see private health and
Yeah.
Medicare clients for this type of work. So
Mhm.
maybe less Medicare. Now, I have another workshop I've just run, and I would go do that, even though we'll chat through it today, but it's quite cheap and it'll take you through all the considerations of seeing private clients. So
Okay.
that will be helpful. What I talk about in that workshop is a lot about the client journey, which I think we still need to flesh out a little smidge in terms of
Mhm.
frequency, duration, length of time that you'd be seeing them, touch points, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But it also talks through all the different funding pathways. So one of the things that I'd like you to look at is getting your Medicare registration done fairly quickly. So you just do
Mhm.
that online. That's not too tricky. When you are looking at doing it, just remember that it only takes your home address. So if you want that suppressed, you'll have to contact them and ask them to not show your home address in any searchable way. But to access private rebates, you need to have your Medicare provider number sorted.
Sure.
So again, if you're targeting that higher market who's going to pay privately, they will be
Mm.
expecting that they can get a healthcare rebate back,
Yeah.
given that you're a health professional. So all of this is not too tricky. You're using Galaxy, so that's very straightforward and easy to do through there as well. So nothing of that
Okay.
is too hard. Okay, what are you thinking in terms of, so I do have a big question for you. Have
Mhm.
you wondered about APRA and declaring a change of scope to APRA?
Yeah, I was looking into that and I was finding it a little bit unclear, the information
No.
around that, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think yours is a relatively significant change of scope, right? Like
Mhm.
sometimes we can say no when we're in that broader NDIS land, but I don't know that any of your like current clinical work that you're doing in your other role
Mm.
relates to this piece over there. So that might be something to just think about while we're in that setup phase.
Yeah.
I don't know what that looks like. So I wonder whether that would be worthwhile having a look at, because I think there might be some bits and pieces that come into that space. I haven't supported anyone who has done that, so I don't know
Okay.
what the other side of that looks like. So maybe it'd be a good just a query phone call and wonder what
Mhm.
it might look like and then
Yeah.
decide from there.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Tell me about the client journey. So you've got to
Mhm.
the point where you're like, yep, my hourly rate's going to be this, but have you thought about what your clinical journey would look like with a person? It
Mhm.
sounds like you were headspacing seeing them towards the end of pregnancy once they know that they've got a scheduled C-section. So we're thinking what the high risk pregnancies or people with a scheduled C-section. Interesting to think about where and when they would want to see you or how you'd
Yes.
capture them at that point.
So I guess with one-to-ones, I was thinking it will be more like an education based, so like preparing for birth as best they can. So even 1 or 2 sessions before birth and then having sessions after birth in terms of recovery. I will just say too, I do creating like digital products. I do want sort of that to be a large part of my offerings as well.
Yep.
Partly because that's accessible.
Mm,
For my clients, but also from a personal perspective,
totally.
less one-on-one time for
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
Yeah, scalable and everything as well. So
100%. Have you
yeah.
looked at Becky Eakin's work?
Yes, I am aware of her and I have listened to some of her podcasts. Yeah.
Because she's probably like, that's probably really ideal for where you're sitting, that
Hmm.
type of content development. And I wonder whether her program might even be worthwhile you having a look at. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
expensive it is, but somebody who is absolutely, I know the work that she does tends to, you sit outside of, not always, but you can sit outside of your typical OT scope. Because the
Mm.
other part of all of this is how much do you want to lean into your OT identity over offering this as a service. I know at the moment we're pretty keen on it being an OT role, but
Yeah.
that's going to shift the clinical, like all of the bits and pieces. And I know that in the pre-information you gave me as well, you were hoping to bring other people in. So you're going to have to be really clear what the
Mm.
clinical work of what it is that we're doing, or the particular area, but that's fine because you're thinking about that anyway.
Yeah.
But one of the things that gets tricky when you start doing digital content is that you need to be careful that it's general advice and not
Yes.
specific advice. Think about from an insurance perspective, all of those sort of things. Have you got insurance outside of your other insurance? So from your other workplace, have you purchased your own insurance?
Yes, I have my own individual,
Yeah.
professional one.
And did you discuss with them or disclose with them what the scope of work might be that you're offering?
Yes.
And they were
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
they were a little bit like vague. But
Yeah, it's
yes, they
annoying.
said
Like I've had
they
quite
said
a few that they're definitely not clear. They're not like, yes,
yeah.
this is fine. Yeah.
They're kind of like, oh, if other OTs think it would be in your scope, then
That's so
that would
annoying.
be yes.
Oh, so weird. So something to think about if you do end up offering like a workshop or course or something like that, sometimes that's not covered under that insurance. So that's just
Right, yeah.
something to keep in the back of your mind around that. Okay. So potentially 2 sessions before you see them, before they have the baby. And what do you think the content of those sessions are? Do you think you want to keep it like relatively structured and repeatable, or do you think that
Mm.
you want it to be like a bit of an individualized session?
I mean, I think there's some key information that I'd like to cover, but also, so before they have their baby, I was thinking more of like a postpartum planning approach. So getting a plan for like physically, emotionally, and also like how to set up their home and things to help their recovery.
Yep.
So
Very OT of you. That definitely
yeah.
sounds like OT.
Yes. So obviously, yeah, taking their main concerns into play.
Would you have to develop like a questionnaire or something to try and
Yes,
capture some of
I
that?
think so. Yeah,
And maybe try and guide it, because remember as well, they're not going to know what to expect from this service either. So
exactly. Yeah.
something that might be helpful. Do you think you'd need to? Like, that sounds like you'd only really need the one appointment before, because realistically, the
Yeah.
majority of your work's after, right? Like, it's in
Yes.
the post-birth. So maybe just that initial appointment is before, and then you're touching base.
hmm
What's the hope? Like, are you hoping to see lots of clients? Are you hoping for this to build up to like a full day's work, a couple of days' work? What are we thinking?
I think sort of 1 to 2 days work, and I know that will take a long time to reach that, just because obviously building that like brand
Wait for
awareness and
babies and
things. Yeah.
yeah.
And also like, yeah, because it's a very specific time
Mm.
in someone's life that I guess that marketing, as we talked about, needs to be very,
Yeah,
very
targeted.
targeted. But yeah, like I said, I guess most of my work I do want to be digital, just because being a mum perspective from my own
Okay.
personal, yeah.
So we're thinking that maybe for a period of time we'd like to do face to face for 2 decent days. What are you thinking? School hours, or what sort
Yeah.
of, so like
School
9 till
hours.
3.
So yeah.
Mm.
So really sort of max of 4 or 5 people a day.
And in your previous roles, have you done therapy, like individualized therapy in this way, or has it been more the like ward consult type stuff?
Yeah, mostly ward consult. I have done some, I have dabbled in some telehealth OT sessions
Cool.
in between maternity leaves, but yes, don't have significant experience in that sort of side
But at
of
least you've
things.
had some. Like, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And then from a telehealth perspective, what platform were you thinking about using?
Zoom.
Cool. With a paid account or the free
Yeah,
account?
I
Cool.
paid, because then
Yep.
that gives the longer time frame for the
Yeah.
sessions.
Amazing. Cool. And what do you know about all the AI stuff that's moving very quickly in this space as well?
Yeah, well, I'm actually using AI a bit with my cast, but otherwise, I don't know. I'm probably a little bit like using ChatGPT, as we've ever mentioned, but only just sort of started looking into
So there's like a
AI
whole world
summaries and
in
things like that.
AI
Yeah.
in clinical world. So that might be something just while you've got time to go and do a bit of looking and reading about. Because a lot of people, particularly if you're doing it on Zoom, then you can have Zoom, you could use something else that'll then summarize the session and send them the note that you're
Yes.
hoping to do, but you need to get consent. Like, there's a whole
Yes.
bunch of background piece. So that might be worth having a bit of a look at the moment. Very interesting. So if we come back to that setup phase, I still think we need the networking is probably what you need to be doing, but more of a, I'm really good, I'm a super great person, and I want to hear all about how you guys work, rather than a hard sell of your service that isn't super developed just yet. If we were a little bit more, beta tested a bit and had a couple of clients through, so you could talk more to what it would look like. But at this point, it'd probably be easier to just go to, baby expos and things like that, and just go and chat to people at it rather than have a stall. And that's where you start, oh, you guys work like this. Oh my goodness, I would love to refer my future client, like that genuine connection.
Yes.
Over just this is what I offer, because we don't have proof of the concept just yet.
Yeah,
but we
that
could
makes
do it
sense.
quite easily, right? Like, you just need to get a few people through.
Yeah.
How are you hoping to find clients?
Well, I think social media will be a big thing, to be honest, because a lot of my target audience are using social media, Instagram specifically, and then having my podcast as well, like having my show notes, making sure all my links are on there, and my call to action on there. Yeah. And then eventually word of mouth, but obviously that's the long.
Is the podcast, have you just got it through Spotify, or have you got it on the website?
It's on Spotify, Apple. I've put it on YouTube. There's no video, but just the audio, and then a whole bunch of the other smaller podcasts.
What's it hosted on? Is it hosted through Spotify and pushed out?
Yeah.
Because I wonder, and you can ask ChatGPT this, so you can say to Chat, can you do a search of me and my business and tell me what my profile looks like if someone was trying to find our service? and
Okay.
see, because I'm wondering, I know from my podcast that until I had it hosted on my website, that the show notes didn't add to SEO really, like it didn't
Okay.
come up in search, where
Yeah.
that's probably would be really helpful for yours to do something similar to that. So that
Yeah,
might
that's a
just
good
look
point.
like a blog on your website.
Mm.
If it can't like integrate across, you could just pull them across as blog notes. So at
Yeah.
least it starts going. What about LinkedIn? Have you set up anything on LinkedIn?
No, I haven't updated my LinkedIn for a while. I know I need to do that.
Yep.
That's just on my to-do list.
Mm.
Yes.
And like it's probably the lower of the marketing pathways, but
Mm.
in terms of professional referrals,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
wouldn't be the worst. Again, if once you're playing in with chat, you could go, I'm trying to build these two social media platforms. Can you write the content for both? Because they'll tweak a
Yeah.
little bit differently.
Okay.
Then you need to put your humanoid eye over it and rewrite it into nice words.
Sure.
But just to help you to keep moving it forward. Now, they suggest that on all platforms, you should be posting sort of 3 times a week at a minimum. So just to get traction moving, and without that, you maybe won't move as quickly. We actually just did this amazing training with Digital Picnics. So they are really just all over it. So they would be really good to start following and try and keep an eye on. And if they do any help with setting up socials and things like that, that would be really great to have a bit of a look at.
Okay.
She is a massive fan of OTs, so
Yeah,
she would be
that's
a
great.
great person to reach out to. But she was talking about you've got like a 2-week window. If somebody likes your content, you've got 2 weeks to try and keep them engaged. So
Okay. Yeah.
there was lots of that sort of strategy. So I think she might be a good person to think about having in your pocket to get an intentional social media strategy happening rather than just a when we remember or when we have
Yes,
time
ad
or
hoc. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And you can, for a lot of your socials, you can do a scheduled post. So if you are more intentional with it, you can do that. And then they talk about managing the stories. Oh, there's a lot. I am learning Instagram at the moment. It is not my favorite space. I find LinkedIn a lot easier, but we are absolutely seeing and certainly thinking for your clientele, they will be Insta. Like that's going
Yeah.
to be primarily where you'll be capturing them.
Yeah. And yes, and I think, as you say, scheduling is something that I do want to do, because for social media, even just for myself personally, I'm sort of more an observer, and I don't post very often at all. And
Yep.
as an introvert, find it quite exhausting. So I
Hmm.
think to get over that barrier, I need to do like a fortnight or a month at a time, schedule
Yep.
it out,
Yep.
and then it's done. And then I can add my stories here and there, but then it sort of takes that pressure off myself, because at the moment I just feel like it's a huge thing. So I need to sort of
Agreed.
make it as easy for myself as possible.
Have you seen Claude? So Claude is like another AI tool. So you've got your chat, and then Claude is like just a different program. So Claude can, and I'm sure chat probably can as well, but Claude can integrate into Canva, and then
Okay.
it can just create carousels for you. So
I
you
did
put
not
the
know
content.
that.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing, because
That
I am
sounds
not
amazing.
visually creative whatsoever. And so you can put your content in there. There's a thing called skills. So as you start looking this stuff up, there's a thing called skills, and a skill is where you write like, whenever I'm talking about this thing, I want you to reference it in this way. And you can literally in either of those say, can you help me to write a skill for marketing of this? And it'll give you the prompts, it'll ask you all the questions, and then it'll put it together. Essentially,
Okay.
it then lives as a little file in there. So every time you go to write something, it references the skill. So you're not having to teach it again and again and again. But then you can have it back end connected to Canva. So when you're creating, it can just go. So like I wrote a workshop the other day and it made my slides for me. I was like,
Wow.
this is
That is so cool.
amazing. Oh my God. This is where I used to lose so much time. So that would be really cool. So thinking about that content generation, and what a lot of people are doing now is, so say your pod, you could bring that across, chuck it into Claude and go pick 5 things out of here that's content and generate that for me.
Okay.
So like you've
Yeah.
already got half your content there. So you could
Yes.
easily just come back and start repurposing that quite easily.
Okay.
So with your pod, have you got it transcribed? Like, is it transcribing it for you?
Yeah, so I actually use Descript, so
yeah, fab.
that
Yep.
so that it automatically
Amazing.
makes that transcription, and then I can edit the transcription, which is really cool. I can do
Yeah.
that.
So in like, I'm just like in Claude, I'm transitioning to Claude at the moment. So in Claude, I then have a folder for the podcast. Each episode has its own. And then I've got the skill, which is then create carousels from this, any thought pieces that come out of what I've talked about or any key things. It can be so helpful, like just so handy. The other bit that I've done in Claude is I've made a dashboard. Oh,
Okay.
I've been telling everyone how amazing this is. I'll show you at the end how cool it is. But it is essentially this overview of all the bits and pieces within the business. It's all things that I've prompted it to generate, but it's like I'm rolling these things out Or for you, like I've contacted these people, I haven't heard back, need to follow up. And it's like an accountability partner, but it's all living. Think about like all the spreadsheets that we normally
Yeah.
have that you have to get in and out, but it's all in one area. You just click through and you can see all of
Oh,
it,
that's cool.
and you just update it through Claude. So that might be a really nice thing for you. My
Yeah.
one's got like a marketing plan. So it says our 3-month marketing plan. Like it's all stuff I've
Okay.
put into it, but just
Yeah.
so I can visually see where I'm up to, remember what I'm meant to be doing,
Yeah,
all of
that's
those
good.
bits and pieces. So I think that
Yes.
would be helpful for you as well.
Okay. Yeah, because I have, brainstorms and lists and things in my Google Drive, but obviously it's sort of lots of different documents together.
And then the
Be good.
brainstorms that you're doing is what
Yeah.
you would do with chat or Claude.
Yeah.
Either one, that's
Yeah.
where you brainstorm it. So like I was working on a concept that hasn't come to fruition last year, and I was just doing it as talking. So you were talking to it and I was like, I'm thinking
Okay.
this, and it's like, what about this? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that. And then how much would it cost? And blah, blah, blah. Like just as a
Okay.
thinking partner,
Mhm.
which I think would be good to help you to keep moving through some of these big ideas that you've got.
That sounds good.
Okay, talk to me about knowing how to use Halixy and all
Mm.
of the money side of the business. Where are we at with all these
Yes.
things?
So it took me a little bit to get my head around it, to be honest. I used a lot of the help articles, but I think I've set it up correctly. I've asked some of my family members to just put in some to
Cool.
go through that process of booking appointments and making
Yep.
sure that they got the emails and the reminders and the invoices
Cool.
all looked fine.
Yep. Have
Yeah,
you got like
so
a consent form? What have you got
yes.
from that side of things?
Yeah, so I have an intake form and a consent form and like terms and conditions on there as
What
well.
about a
Yeah.
privacy policy?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I've put that up there too. Double
Might be
check.
worth jumping on, have a look at Ready to Boss Legal. She's got a lot of just different templates that just might be worthwhile having a look at. So it's got like online course terms and conditions. It's got
Okay.
use of website terms and conditions, bits and pieces like that. So just have a bit of a squiz and see. Yep, that would be interesting. What about, have you thought about how you'll take payment?
Yeah, I was thinking through PayPal, I think.
You can just take payment through Halixy. So Halixy is one of the main ones that has its own ability to take payment directly through it without having to go through a third party payment as well. But it might be worth going and having a look at how much it costs. So Halixy can be a little bit pricey because you've got to pay $1 plus the percentage for each one coming through. But PayPal would have its own costs as well.
Yeah.
I also think PayPal might have something where it might hold on to the money for a little bit longer than you think it holds on to. So just double check that piece as well. Halixy is pretty good. Like you get it normally within the day, or you can select how frequently they're transferring it to you. Okay, that's cool. So then you've got to, when you do the onboarding, then you get them to add their credit card details into Halixy. So this can sometimes be a bit bumpy where people don't want to do it, but it's completely appropriate for you to do it because you're not seeing them face to face. So you don't really want to have to be going to chase them ever or asking for additional information. What about, you're probably not going to need to be contacting people in between sessions, phone calling, that sort of stuff, because it's more sessional.
Yeah.
What else have you thought about with this sort of stuff?
I guess talking more about digital offers, I do have a lot of ideas, but I know that I have a lot of other things going on at the moment. So I do have my little brain dump document that I put my ideas in so that I can reference them in future. But I guess, all the digital offers in the world are amazing, but if I don't have an audience yet, then there's no point in pursuing that just yet. So yeah.
And what have we've got 9 months before you've got to go back to your old role in some regard.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So thinking about that then, would you nearly go, like again, thinking about like logging out, where are we up to, what our next steps need to be? So you've got a couple of things. We're thinking about that ARPA piece. We've got to go and get our Medicare piece sorted. Then we need to probably go do that groundwork and see and make friends and build your connections. Like honestly, I'd be reaching out to anyone who is working in women's health, like baby space, and going and trying to meet them. Like there's more than likely going to be a pregnancy a mum expo and things like that you could go and start like making connections. You're not limited to the area that you live in either, but it's probably just easier to start with until you understand your service offering a little smidge more.
Yeah, I think so.
What about session length? So planning on doing 50-minute session?
Yeah, I put it as 50 minutes just so that I have that approximately 10 minutes just to send an email follow-up of like a summary of what we covered, just because that's more straightforward, I thought. And I think there would be enough content to to cover in 50 minutes.
When you did your telehealth piece, what
Mm.
did that look like? Were they 60-minute sessions? What was like the clinical approach at that time?
They were 45-minute sessions, and
Mm.
then 15 minutes set aside for note writing. Yeah.
And was it a bit of a clearer clinical model that you're in then, or sort of a
Mm.
similar coachy role?
It was a bit clearer. Yeah.
So that's possibly just something to have a little wonder about.
Mm.
Wonder even if you just try and find somebody, like a friend who's pregnant or somebody, just to have a bit of a go to know how to fill time. Like, because just coming
Yes.
from your previous experience, I just wonder how easy that would be. And because you're not sure, and this might even help to sit and think, like, how do I make the content last over a few sessions rather than just shoving it all into one session and then being
Yeah.
like, and done. Oh, I've got nothing else to tell you, so don't come back.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that is something that will be challenging, sort of making sure everything's covered, but also keeping to time. I do have some people I could reach out to and just, have a practice.
And you can
Definitely.
even, because I feel that the way you're thinking about it at the moment from a content perspective is more like education
Yes.
rather than session and what actually happens within the session.
Yeah.
And then what if they start going down the mental health, like there's
Mm.
so many unusual things that can occur in that space. But
Yes,
I
exactly.
feel like the clinical pathway you're coming up with at the moment is content specific rather than meeting them where they're at and guiding them. And I wonder whether that might be a piece to develop your skills in. Like, obviously, you know the content, but learning how to contain it. And this is an experience, I guess, when we come from health, they've got a limited amount of time. You
Yeah.
just give them the information. What they do with it, they will. Like, think about that physio, right? Like, she just comes, tells you whether you do it or don't do it, doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Here, it's selling your service and it's making you an invaluable support. But that's the piece I don't think you've had the experience with before to be
Yes.
really comfy doing it. So there's a few ways to think about it then. Do you think that, okay, we do it as it is a program and you're going to do 3 sessions with me? Like, you could potentially make it a bit more structured in that way, which isn't the worst because you're going to be a lot more confident selling it like that.
Yeah.
You would have to think about the timings between appointments as well and being
Okay.
quite intentional with that. So if we think in that sort of post-birth period, you're going to want to see them fairly early, right? So probably 2 weeks post-birth-ish.
Yeah.
Yep. Then would you want to see them again? Like, when would be the next time that you'd want to see them?
I would say within the first 2 weeks, and then about 6 weeks. So
After
you're
that?
saying, 6 weeks after birth, sorry. So you're
Yep.
saying sort of like as a package. So saying, okay, the first session is in this time frame, this is what we'll cover.
Yeah. Like,
That could
you will
work.
have
Yeah.
to know that a lot
Yeah.
more because otherwise you're going to need hundreds of clients to fill
Yeah.
your books, right? So
Exactly.
you're going to need to know what that clinical pathway is. So just pull back on your health hat and go, if this was a health program, what would I want it to look like? So if money wasn't a factor and they just came to a best practice evidenced intervention, what would this look like? And then design your program / intervention / therapy around that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so how many, if you're thinking about that, we've got a touch point before birth, we've got within the 2 weeks after the baby's born, 6 weeks after that, is there a follow-up? Is it a 4-session program or what are we sort of thinking?
It could be 4 sessions, you're right. So before birth, early recovery, then the 6-week post-birth, because obviously that's when that magical 6-week check that people have with the GP and they sort of think that that's them done with recovery, which is not really the case. It's, I feel it's the start of recovery. So you could have one then and then have another one maybe about a month later to track how they're going.
And then the other part is just thinking about why you, like, why will they come and see you? Why won't they go to a woman's health physio or like a PT who works in that space? Like, this is the piece and this is how you round out your program, or be really clear about what your support looks like compared to other people.
Yeah, of course. I think a lot of C-section mums have a lot of emotions about having a C-section and those feelings of failure sometimes. And, especially if it's an unplanned C-section. So a lot of that sort of emotional work and adjustment, new identity, just with motherhood in general, setting up their environment and preventing injury as well. Infant mental health and regulation as well, coming into like the baby wearing space that I'm interested in as well. Then, of course, there's like the physical recovery and the scar management and things, which does have some crossover. But I guess my approach is more about recovering well and then building confidence in that motherhood role.
You've given yourself enough time then. The level of what you want to cover in this is not going to be covered in 4 sessions.
No. Not
So this is why, good to go and have a bit of a play with your model and
mm,
what the intervention piece looks like, because you're writing this program, right, from scratch.
yeah.
So remember to come and think about it, not just as a program, but also what that would look like. Because what I can hear you saying, and what I don't think you're holding enough space for, is incredibly distressed mums in a
Mhm.
massive emotional overload. They're not going to be ready to just learn. So you're going
Yeah.
to end up in more of a mental health space, which is totally
Yes.
fine. And that's leaning into some of the skills that you've got. But does it detract away from, does that make sense? We've got to
Mm,
be conscious about what the output of what the program is, because you're trying to do a lot within that
yeah.
one space, which is fine. But we've just have got to build our skills in that first.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And therefore, sometimes you can have a container. I worry that, and I find for the work I do, I can't really contain it because I'm more of a let's go with the flowy type
Mm,
person. And that's a skill as a clinician that you need to be able to go, oh, I actually think you would benefit from seeing me fortnightly. For some, it's 6 weekly. So that's probably just some work that you need to sort of think through a little bit around that therapeutic intervention as well.
sure. Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's lots for you to think about.
Yes.
How are you feeling now?
Good. Yeah, as you say, lots to think about, but definitely some things that I hadn't really considered. It's exciting still. Mhm.
It is exciting. And you
Yeah.
might find if it doesn't find its feet, there might be other ways to move into still doing the same work.
Mhm.
So if it doesn't take off as a standalone program, there might be other services that you can go in and contract under. So you can still offer the same thing. We can still work independently, but it's under
Mm.
somebody who already has a banner and a name. And then because I know there was a service local to me that was a mother's service. So they had all of the different people there and they would refer
Yes.
appropriately. There's another big practice here that's like a massive holistic practice. So everyone's contractors instead of running their own business, but they're a contractor, but they've already got those referral pathways. Like that nearly would be
Mhm.
ideal for you, because then you're not having to go and scrounge for clients and you've got the
Yeah.
space to have the differentiation between what I offer and what they offer, and you can really niche. I
Mhm.
just worry that being totally by yourself would, the world's your oyster, really.
Yeah.
Everything you can offer is way, 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 way too big, that having it contained is really helpful for the first time you're learning to work privately.
That sounds good. And are a few places around me that have like the GP, the physio, the
Mm.
lactation consultant, all within sort of the same service.
And maybe even looking for a mentor in that space potentially too. So maybe like a
Mm.
lactation consultant or somebody like that who
Okay.
would have established a model, like a business. That's the piece. We just want to learn how they've established a business model in that space,
Yes.
and what that's looked like. So that might be handy to have a look at as well.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we normally finish with a bit of a note to self, but as we're starting, maybe it's not so much of a note to self, but you have been sitting on this idea for a little while. So maybe there
Mm.
is a little bit of some gold nuggets to think about. What would you have said when you first came up with that idea a few years ago?
I think to have confidence in myself and just to start putting myself out there and sort of learn. I mean, I'm learning as I go, absolutely, and but also trusting that I think the service is something that's really needed, and I just need to figure out exactly what it looks like and how to get it out into the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, so exciting. Well, I'm super keen to see how it all goes. Thank you so much for joining us, Katie.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your time. I appreciate it.
The OT Coaching Confidential podcast exists to support occupational therapists and allied health professionals to think clearly, feel less alone, and take meaningful steps forward in their work. If this conversation has resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on what stood out. What were your key takeaways? What might you apply in your own personal or professional practice? If you'd like to keep the conversation going, head on over to www.theotcoach.au. You'll find free resources, workshops, trainings, and practical tools to support you wherever you are in your career. And if you're interested in joining the OT Coach Academy, we currently have the Pediatric Hub for Pediatric OTs, the Sole Trader Hub for sole traders, and the Business Hub for business owners with a team. Please note that the information shared in this podcast is general in nature and is not intended to replace individualized professional advice. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. The OT Coach, where therapists come to grow.